Hello everybody, welcome back to another book related video here on my channel. I'm so glad you guys all stopped by. Today we are going to be talking about last year's book goals for the year and also this year's book goals for the year. I wanted to kind of touch back with what I had last year, see if we kind of achieved some of the goals or at least the overall gist of each goal, and then also say what my book goals are this year, and then hopefully by the time next year I can look back and do this video again. So first, let's get into last year's goals, my 2023 reading goals. In the beginning of the year, I said how I originally only wanted to read 25 books, and I did hit my goal pretty early in the year, I think around 5 months, maybe half or more, but it was still where we had a lot of months left in the rest of the year. So I added a second book goal and I put it as 60 books read. So I didn't just have my one book goal of 25, I also had another one of 60 books, and I ended up completing both of those, so that was great. It was very exciting to have not just crossed off my 25 books for the whole year, but then also adding a second goal and being able to accomplish that, and we accomplished that a day before the last day of 2023, so that was very exciting. My second goal for last year was reading more of my physical books rather than just buying new books, and for the most part I did achieve that, but there were also times because my husband and I decided for my anniversary present, or my side of our anniversary present, I was going to spend like $120 on books alone. So there are a few times that I went out and I bought a lot of books and I didn't necessarily read the ones I had. I would instead just go and buy more books. But I feel like overall, if we're looking at the whole entire year, I feel like I was getting really good at reading more of my physical TBR towards the end of the year, more so after our anniversary and after I spent all that money to go do that massive book haul. Our third goal for last year was actually to be more strict with my ratings. For the most part, do this really well in the beginning where I didn't want to have to change my ratings, and then as we got farther on down the year, I definitely did not do that good. And in my video, the end of the year wrap up, I actually ended up changing I think like 5 or 6 books from the ratings that I had written down. I just didn't feel like they were the same, and also my reading taste kind of evolved a little bit more after a whole year of reading straight. I have my little book journal, what I call my book binder, with me, and I'm just gonna read what I had last year down for each star rating. So for 1 stars I had what is this, DNF. For 2 stars I had not a fan at all, but at least I finished it. 3 stars was pretty good but not good enough to keep me, and then 4 stars was amazing, but also there were times I could have walked away. 5 stars was couldn't put it down, and I remembered this book for weeks. Those were my star ratings from last year, and like I said, I did do a little bit better in the beginning of the year and then also towards the end of the year, rating how I really felt the book was going to be like years, months down the road. But there are a few times that I messed up and I rated them and then I had to change my rating. My next goal was to limit the dollar amount and also how many books I bought at one given time, especially because I thrift a lot. So for the most part, I'm not really gonna buy more than $20 max for books, potentially. The quantity could range from like 5 books to potentially 10. So I kind of had like an either limit it for the dollar or limit it for the amount, but at the same time I wanted to do both of them. And I feel like there were times that I was good. I did really good at this. And then there were a few times that I already kind of talked about with like our anniversary present where I didn't do that. I went full out. I did a lot of spending, not necessarily like at one given time. I didn't spend like $120 in one single month. I kind of spaced it out over the course of 3 or 4 months. And same with buying 50+ books. I didn't buy them all in one given month. I kind of spaced them out from like 6 whole months, I do believe. I'm gonna kind of give myself that because when I would go thrifting, I would honestly put back more books than I would buy. And I started getting more strict. I think last year when I was going over my book goals, I kind of talked about, hey, if this is a start of a new series, I don't really need it. If it's something that I don't really think I'm gonna read in like the next 2 weeks after buying it, I don't really need it. If it is something to complete a series I have, or it's the next book like that's related to what I've already read, then sure, let's go ahead and buy it. That was kind of what helped me when I did buy books to understand if I really wanted it, if I didn't, and that's also how I put a lot of books back on the shelf. Next, I had read more genres. I think I stated in last year's video that for the most part I was more of a fiction. I used to do a lot of mystery thrillers, but I kind of waved away from that genre, but I was definitely fiction, and then I would do some nonfiction or like historical nonfiction as well as Christian. I did a lot of military style books. I just love memoirs and stuff like that when it comes to the military and obviously the history of our country. I really enjoyed those. I did branch out actually a lot and read a few different genres. I feel like a lot of this is because I was reading a lot more book talk, booktube books that were kind of hyped up. For the end of the year last year in my wrap up video, I put that my most read genres were 16 YA fantasies, 8 thrillers, 6 romance, 6 fiction, 6 YA fiction, 5 fantasy, 3 YA dystopians, 3 sci-fis, 2 mysteries, 2 Christians, 2 YA sci-fis, and then 1 autobiography. I feel like I branched out a lot last year with my genres, and that's one thing that I think I did pretty decent on. Like, this was a definite 100%. I actually achieved that goal, and I'm very happy that I did because I also read so many amazing books. Next, I had continue reading more physical books, and this was so much because I enjoy reading only physical books. I do like sometimes going to the library, or I used to many years ago, and instead I rather just find them, thrift them, or buy them and then end up reading them so I physically have the copy, because if I don't like them, I can either try and turn around and give them away to a used bookstore, or even if we go back home to like a half price books to where I can get in-store credit, turn around, buy more, or I can always turn around and throw them in a my free little library or just kind of donate them. And last year I only read physical books, which was exciting. I think I had a few audiobooks here and there, like with Ellen Hildebrand, to kind of help me out with reading with the books that I was really having trouble reading and getting through. I still had the physical copy, and majority of that book I read physically. My second to last goal for last year was to have fun and not rush any books. In 2022, rushing so many books to try and hit my goal, and then by the end of the year I didn't know what I read, and I felt like I couldn't really count that book. So this past year I did really good at actually not rushing any books for the most part, and I still remembered every book, and I was pretty happy overall, and I had a lot of fun with growing my YouTube, especially with the book content. And then the very last book goal for last year was actually just to thrift more interesting books. I had a few where I definitely picked up a lot of Book Talk, BookTube hyped up books. I pulled a few random ones off the shelf and I ended up loving them, and that is just something I love doing, like basically judging the book by its cover and also just reading the back, seeing if it's something that might interest me, and just basically taking a chance, especially when it comes to thrifting, because unlike half price books or Barnes and Nobles, there's not many copies, and for the most part you're not going in a thrift store knowing what's technically on the shelf. You can guess, like, oh, there might be a Twilight, there might be a Hunger Games book, but for the most part you're not going to know exactly what's on the shelf. I really enjoyed that goal, and also just picking random books from time to time. All right, let's get into this year's book goals. I have a few. I feel like just as many as I did last year. Some of them are very similar to last year's goal. My first goal for this year is the amount of books I want to read. I did kind of lower my books just a little bit because as of right now, I'm almost halfway to my goal, and it's not a very big goal, but I know because in April, which is 2.5 months away, I'm filming this the very first week of February, a couple days into February. April is right around the corner and we are moving. I don't know what my life's going to be like after we move. So with that being said, I didn't want to have a really high goal. I still wanted to have 2 goals though. So I do have a low goal and then a pretty decent goal. It's not too crazy. So last year, like I said, I had 25. This year I only have 20, and then I have a second book goal at 55. So 5 less than last year on both the first and the second goal. This year I feel like is the year for everybody to try and tackle their physical TBR, and that's of course my second goal is I want to tackle my physical TBR so bad. I don't even have that big compared to most people. I feel like a lot of booktubers, especially the bigger book YouTubers, they have over 100 physical TBR books. I technically have 68 on my list, but I have already read 11 books, so that puts me at around 57. I might have a few that I haven't actually put down on this list. I have around 55 to 60 books that I have on my physical TBR, which, don't get me wrong, is still a lot, and I do need to tackle that, but I definitely feel like I have a good start, and also I don't have that crazy amount of number. Like, it's not triple digits, and it's not honestly that close to triple digits. That is my major goal this year, is I'm trying to tackle my physical TBR, trying to get it honestly less than 70 books, which I know I'm technically under 70 books, but I just want to end out the year less than 70 whole books. My next goal is I wanted to mood read as much as possible. I know I have a few books that I want to kind of set up and pre-film for videos or have laid out for videos, but I also want to mood read because I feel like as I select certain books, by the time I get around to them, really feel like reading them. When I've been mood reading, I've been enjoying the books that I pick up, and if I don't enjoy them, I just kind of softy enough them, put them aside, and then I pick up another one, and if I really enjoy that, I feel like it's helped me so many times get out of a slump. So I'm not putting pressure on myself to read a specific book. Next goal I have is kind of like last year's. It's very similar to my last goal of last year, and it is to thrift uncommon or unheard of books or just less known books. Don't get me wrong, every once in a while, Book Talk or BookTube books, the really hyped up books are really good. They're hyped up for a reason, but at the same time, there are certain books, certain series that are so hyped up that I will never touch, I will never read. One being Magnolia Parks. I will never read that series. It annoys me every time somebody talks about it, and it's because it's so overly hyped. And there's been a few books like Emily Henry's Beach Read that I just feel like is a little bit too overhyped. It's still a good read, but I feel like we put too much pressure on books to be so good that by the time people like me who don't get around to it right when they get hyped, we're kind of like on the back burner where we might pick it up years later or even months later when the hype's kind of gone away from it and everybody's moved on to a new book and fixated on that new book. So I do want to go thrift and pull out random books, see what I want. And this applies to like if I went to Barnes and Nobles as well, but for the most part, I just thrift books. So I would like to sit there and basically just, if something seems interesting to me, I want to pull it out, read it, and then talk about it here on the channel and recommend books that are more so unheard of. And still, of course, the books that I bought like Caraval or Fourth Wing or any books like that, I still, of course, am going to read those and talk about those. It's just so different when you hear the same books over and over again. Sometimes you just kind of want a little bit of diversity when it comes to hyped books and then not so hyped books. Another goal of mine is I want to continue to post book related videos that help people here on my channel. If you ever noticed any of my other videos, a lot of them are vehicle videos and they're kind of like how-tos and installation videos. I absolutely love my YouTube to be more so a helpful type YouTube or a helpful platform where people can come if they have something that corresponds to one of my topics here on my channel. I'd rather be able to help somebody than just to have like a fun video that you can kind of watch in one way or another. If it helps them by making them happy, then that's fine. Or if it physically helps them, like if they were stuck on something, like for instance the vehicle videos, or with book videos, it kind of plays into the last book goal where picking random books, because since a lot of the books that are hyped up get hyped up, I kind of like to do recommendations every now and then, but doing some that include those more hyped up books but also ones that you don't necessarily know about. I just feel like it's good to not just help others by making them potentially happy by posting a video, but more so by also giving them different recommendations than other people. So that was one of my goals, is just to basically make sure my channel is not just about me, it's also potentially helpful videos for others, if that makes sense. My next goal is to have honest reviews. I felt like last year on Goodreads, I didn't really want to leave a lot of reviews because a lot of people didn't agree with how I agreed with the book, and I get it. You're all allowed to have your own opinions, but there were times where I just kind of felt pressured if I didn't like a book as much as other people. Kind of like Beach Read, where I rated it 4 stars. I loved it, but I wasn't obsessed with it. I didn't cry about it, and I liked People We Meet on Vacation a little bit more than Beach Read. I just was scared to post that on Goodreads, even though I kind of talked about it here in my videos. I wasn't sure how most people were going to feel, and I also didn't want a lot of criticism or anybody potentially commenting, but now I'm to the point where I could care less what anybody says about my review. I'm wanting to add more honest reviews, and I feel like for the most part I've done that. When it comes to like second or third books in a series, I haven't done too many reviews, like writing them actually out, and I just want to continue doing that and maybe get better at leaving reviews. I have the same goal as last year for my next goal. It is to rate better. Like I said, I started off rating where I was pretty strict. I did pretty good, and then by the end of the year I all of a sudden had to change a lot of my ratings. So this year I don't want to have to do that by the end of this year. I want to make sure that what I put down on the piece of paper, if I rated it 3 stars, it stays 3 stars for the most part. Obviously sometimes your taste can change. More than anything, I'd rather only change like a few books at the end of the year. So I kind of kept a few of my star ratings the same, but I also changed a few of them. My 1-star books for this year are still What Is This? DNF. My 2 stars are Not a Fan at All. I'm glad to finish it. My 3 stars are Pretty Good. I might recommend, but it's not one of my favorites. My 4 stars are Amazing, but it just didn't have that 5-star feeling. And then my 5 stars are It Had That Feeling and I'll Remember It for Weeks. I also want to do more reading vlogs and also challenges here on my channel. So far this year, I've done a 24-hour challenge. I've also had like a reading vlog, like how many pages I read in a week. So I want to continue doing as much as I can before we move, at least, challenges and vlogs for reading. I feel like they're just kind of fun, and I like to sit down and record those because they're not just sit down videos like this one, but I can do different camera angles, and I feel like I'm getting a little bit better with like close-up shots or like b-roll of whatever I'm reading. I feel like I'm starting to get the hang of it a little bit more. So I just want to continue that and try and grow and get better with doing those, and also I just feel like they're fun to watch. My next goal is buy less and read more. Of course, this kind of goes hand in hand with reading my physical TBR. I don't think I've really bought any books. I did accumulate a few books from the Airman's Attic on base, so those were kind of free, but for the most part, I've already started reading one of them. It's actually sitting up there, and I just want to continue as soon as I buy them, write them down, and then I also want to get to them as soon as possible. So I'm trying really hard this year to not honestly buy that many books. And then my last goal for this year, which I've only done, I do believe, 1 video so far, potentially start making shorts, more so for like wrap-ups. I haven't done that one. I think the only short video I have is the 24 books I want to read in 2024. I do kind of want to try and do every wrap-up, maybe if I get a book haul, if I do certain videos like the how many pages I read in a week video, I kind of want to maybe tackle that. I used to hate shorts, and I still kind of hate shorts. I don't watch them, but I do think when you are a creator, it might be good to post shorts. So I kind of just want to branch out for a few months, if not a whole year, see if I kind of like it. If I want to, I'll keep up with them. If I don't, then I just won't. and I'll just stop making shorts. They're not that big of a deal to me, but I think it would be just like a cool little addition to start doing for my channel. That is all my book goals from last year and also the ones that I hope to accomplish this year. Thank you all so much for watching. As always, be sure to subscribe. I hope to see y'all in another video here on my channel, and God bless.